Hi, to all of our members, most of you know me. I'm Larry Katz. I'm the tennis pro at Cedar Hill, and I'm so much looking forward to seeing everyone at the club and on our courts as soon as we get the okay to begin. I was so excited to see everyone late April, the beginning of May, and just get things really rocking on the courts. And obviously that has to wait, so I'm not going to get to see our extended family and my extended family at Cedar Hill for a little bit longer, but I can't wait till that day comes, and look forward to seeing everybody. Some of you I do see over the winter where I teach indoors, and a lot of our members I don't get to see, so I'm looking forward to seeing all of you as well. It's never too early though to start thinking about tennis for you tennis players. I know even for you regular players, you probably haven't had an opportunity to be on the court with the indoor clubs being closed in the area. You know, that goes without saying. But it's getting right around the corner. I think we'll be getting out there hopefully soon. And so what I'm going to talk about just today is just a brief breakdown of the forehand because it's been a while since people hit the ball, so a couple of tips will always help. And also I'm going to do about a 5-minute stretch as I have a background in stretching. And you know, the gyms are closed, and some of you are in fantastic shape and are very flexible, but it never hurts to get a couple stretches in with a few tips on that as far as balance. So breaking down the forehand, all right, the most important thing in tennis is to be in a good ready position. And a good ready position means the head of the racket is staying up to begin with, knees are bent, and body weight slightly forward. By keeping the racket up, one of the benefits of that is that in terms of bringing the racket back, everything is going to work in one piece. So for example, by keeping the racket up and turning my shoulders, the racket's coming back in one piece, and the body is being used in one piece, which is preferable to having the racket lower, which tends to make the player bring the racket back just with the arm. So the racket head should stay up and maintain that position, so when the shoulders turn, the racket is going right back with that shoulder turn. If you'll notice that when I do my turn, I'm planting my right foot and getting some weight on the right foot. That's called loading up on the right foot or on the back foot. So this way, when I step forward into the ball, my weight's distributing forward and the stroke is going through, and I'm getting some extra power by transferring the weight onto the right foot and then moving the body forward through the ball. It's also important on the swing, once that racket is back, to make sure that the follow-through of the stroke is coming up over the shoulder. Because what's happening by doing that is you're getting the core of your body to rotate with the swing and not just using the arm to follow through and come over the shoulder, but the entire body is coming through. So the finish of the swing is over the shoulder, and if you'll notice, my elbow is at least to my chin level and a little bit past the chin as well. So those are all very important things. As far as the power, again, that comes through the stroke, as the body's turned and getting the racket down and getting the body weight down and staying down at my hips and through my legs, what's occurring there is that the power is coming from the legs, and up through the body. Another way to get additional power in your swing and also to use both sides of your body is, as I'm a righty, is to use your left hand. So for example, as I'm turning and getting the racket back, that left hand is coming across the body, and that's getting my body to turn and almost in like a wind-up type position. So then once I'm stepping in and going through the ball, you're coming around in the other way and unwinding. So really the power with the combination of the legs and using the left hand is coming down from the lower body, stepping in, coming through, the legs work up, through, and then the racket's coming around with a good finish. And again, using the left hand to come across allows the body to turn more and to get full power in. And it's very important to use the body in one piece. So everything really should happen at one time at the same time. We don't have time. Of the legs and using the left hand is coming down from the lower body, stepping in, coming through, the legs work up, through, and then the racket's coming around with a good finish. And again, using the left hand to come across allows the body to turn more and to get full power in. And it's very important to use the body in one piece. So everything really should happen at one time at the same time. We don't have time to turn, bring the racket back, do things one by one. So as you're turning, the hand's coming across, the racket head staying up, stepping in, coming around, finishing, and rotating the other way. So those are just some basic tips as far as on the forehand. It's very important to use your whole body. And of course, the most important thing is to keep your eye on the ball. And you can even practice this in your house, just working on finishing your swing, going through and getting a lot of swings. I wouldn't do it too close to where you're having dinner though, with all the plates around, or your family. All right. So that's a little tip on the forehand. Just a couple basic things, and we're going to take a little pause, and then I'm going to get out a mat, and I'll do a couple stretches, which you may want to follow. So the second part of the little video I'd like to do is to do just a couple of basic stretches. And some of the stretches, a few of them, I'll be doing from the standing position, and there'll be a couple of stretches and exercises I'm going to do from the sitting position. So the first one I'd like to do is just a basic standing stretch where the hands are going to be together, interlacing, stretching the arms straight up toward the ceiling. Now, as you're doing that, you want to make sure you have a good foundation through the legs. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually squeezing on my quadriceps and pulling up on my kneecaps, which gives me more stability in my lower body. And that's going to prevent my body from being too loose and arching and not being stable. So a little firmness in the lower body is very good. And you see I'm trying to get my palms up toward the ceiling. And you generally want to move on the exhalation. So I'm inhaling. And as I'm exhaling, I'm moving to one side and letting my neck and head just sort of relax in between the arms. And it's very important to stretch both arms evenly. You don't want to have one arm bent and one arm stretching. You're lifting the arms out and stretching both arms evenly and just holding. And then you can just come the other direction, both arms even. Try to keep the head centered in between the arms. You can hold for 4 or 5 seconds, just keeping the breathing normal. And you can release the arms and relax. And, being that I've done that a lot, I have some flexibility in my upper body, but you can take any kind of towel or belt and stretch up with that. And then again, you're going to get more of a range of motion. And again, it might be easier to do as well. And you're not as limited by having the arms, by not having the belt. You have a little more freedom of movement with the belt. Another one that I like doing is just to take the belt, drop it behind you, and reach and hold. And that's very good for your triceps here and for your shoulders, and just holding. And then you could just switch it, and you could do the other side and just hold. And I really feel that in my shoulder. For those of you who are very flexible, if you don't need a belt, you can also reach up, reach back, and just hold. So either way, whatever's good for you works. Third standing stretch, that's more of a shoulder opener, but a third standing stretch is you can take the belt, about shoulder distance apart, pull back slightly, breathe in, look up, and slowly come forward, and the belt comes over the head, and you can look down at your knees or look down at your feet. Just try to keep the breathing normal, and hold, and you can slowly come up. Okay? Anytime you're doing that kind of pose where you're bending over or anything like that, you don't want to squeeze on the toes or the feet. You want to try to keep the feet just without too much tension if that's possible. So you have to have good balance on that. One or two I'd like to do more. We'll do just a basic. I'll do 2 more. One is more of a classic yoga pose, the triangle, and then I'll do the warrior. So for the triangle, I'm going to move the mat a little bit this way. The feet should be about 3.5 feet apart. Legs strong, okay? And the right foot's turning out 90 degrees. Left foot's turning in about 1/3 of the way, maybe 30 degrees. But the hips are still forward. You don't want the hips to be going over this way. Hips are forward, legs strong, arms up, looking over the right hand, breathing in. And for those not experienced, what I would do is I would just come down and reach down for the upper thigh area and try to have that left arm stretch up. Keep the neck relaxed, and you can hold. If that's quite easy, you can come down a little bit further and hold over the hips. And that's where you want your alignment and shows good balance. Okay? Other direction, feet 3.5 feet apart, arms out, looking over the left hand, breathing in, exhaling, I can come a little further, but I'd rather just do a modified stretch here with the triangle, holding up, keeping the head relaxed, and so there's not too much strain in the neck. If you find you have good balance, then you can look up past the chin toward the ceiling. So I'm looking past my thumb, you're holding, and trying to keep your breathing normal if possible, and slowly coming up. The warrior, the feet are a little bit further apart. This is the basic warrior pose. Right foot's out again 90 degrees, left foot's in a third of the way, hips forward, strong in the legs, arms out, breathing in, and slowly bending the right knee, not very far, unless you're very experienced in yoga, and looking over the right hand. And again, I'm trying to get my body where it's centered directly over my hips. If your body is too much looking forward this way, you're really off balance in your pose, and it's not really the proper alignment. So the upper body stays back slightly and it's looking over the hand. Breathing normal, and that will also be done on the other side. But for time purposes, I'm just going to do it on one side. And last couple of stretches, I'm going to do one stretch from the floor here for the hips and knees. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, on the pillow next to me, and I'm just going to kneel down on the ground, and my feet are flat, tops of my feet are flat, trying to face straight back. And I'm going to slowly sit back on my heels. But when I do that, the body stays straight up. You don't want to be bending forward this way. So the body's straight up. I happen to be pretty tight in my knees, so a lot of times when I'm doing this in the morning, I'll use a pillow, put that behind my knees, and it allows me a little more comfort. It's also a little easier on the feet that way. For those of you who really have knee problems, you may not be able to do this at all as far as getting on the ground, but it's just something that some people can do. And once you're in that position, you can do variations like I did in the standing poses, where you can stretch the arms up. They can be apart, they could be together, you could have a belt. And from there, if you wanted to do another variation on that, you can move forward, where your head could be on the ground. And if you can't get too far over, you could use the pillow. So you could use a pillow, place the head in the pillow, hands by your side. It's very comfortable and relaxing to do this kind of pose here. So you're holding. If you didn't have a pillow, that's fine also, but then if you find that your rear area is coming up too much off the hips, that's what you don't want. You want to be able to keep the hips back and not coming up into the air. Third variation on that is to bring the knees into the chest, and I'll do it this way. When you bring the knees into the chest, you want to bring them in, and you can hold this way, clasp your hands, and you want to keep your neck long. What you don't want to happen is, you don't want to have your neck bending in the cervical area, and you don't want to have your lower spine coming off the ground. So you want to be long on the ground and just comfortable. And you can also stretch out one leg. And again, when you stretch out your leg, you want to try to keep that leg down toward the ground if you can. And then the other leg as well. Perfect. And then the last stretch I'm going to do is a forward bend, which is always nice to finish with a little forward bend. And when you're doing a forward bend, the body in a sitting position, you want to try to keep that fairly straight up if you can. And if you need to, you could also bring the knees into the chest, where you want to bring them in, and you can hold this way, clasp your hands, and you want to keep your neck long. What you don't want to happen is, you don't want to have your neck bending in the cervical area, and you don't want to have your lower spine coming off the ground. So you want to be long on the ground and just comfortable. And you can also stretch out one leg. And again, when you stretch out your leg, you want to try to keep that leg down toward the ground if you can. And then the other leg as well. Perfect. And then the last stretch I'm going to do is a forward bend, which is always nice to finish with a little forward bend. And when you're doing a forward bend, the body in a sitting position, you want to try to keep that fairly straight up if you can. And if you need to, you could also sit on a pillow, which can give you a little more height and a little more leverage in the stretch. So that's also completely fine. You might find it easier to bend forward. Again, it's easier to use a belt if you have it. Arms can come straight up, breathing in, and exhaling and moving forward. And when you're moving forward, if you can, try to move from your hips as you're coming forward, and then you can release the belt over the feet. And again, it's not so important how far you come forward with the head. It's more important that the body has a good alignment and you have good posture. So my focus here is not so much on going forward, but keeping my upper body over my hips area, because the more you can work into the hips and get flexibility in that area, then the movement becomes easier, because the upper body and the hips, it's like a lever. And you want to, if you're very tight in your hips, it's you're not going to be able to move properly. It'll be too much reaching with the upper body. And again, it should come from the hips, the movement. And you can hold that as long as you like. And of course, after you stretch, even if it's a couple, 30 seconds here, you stop, another 30, that's fine. At the end, it's always nice to do a nice relaxation where the feet are apart, the arms are apart, the head is long, and the body relaxes. And you think about what a nice day it's going to be. So anyway, if you'd like to try any of those stretches, feel free. The forehand's always a great thing, and hopefully everybody will be hitting a lot of winners on the court this summer. Again, I can't wait to see everyone, and thank you very much for your time.